are not completely clear at this time. There are security posts that normally would have been able to stop a vehicle there. How big the truck was, we don't know. We do know there is almost nothing left of the Marine Command Center there. It is absolutely pulverized. The one layer of floor lays atop the other. The cries for help, although they are very faint, can be heard above the roar of all of the engines of trucks and cranes that are trying to lift away some of this debris that is at the Marine Command Center. As you said, the latest number of dead we have is 43. We do know a number of wounded were also evacuated from the scene. It is a very grim scene, one that you can see the obvious pain on the faces of the Marines who are there, who know that many of their friends, their comrades, perhaps their commanders, were inside that building at the time of the blast. Gwen?
Jim, we have reports that the commander of the Marines is alive. Do you know of any other commanders who survived the explosions, and if so, what are they doing, and who's in control of the rescue operations there now?
At this time, I am sure that the rescue operation at the Marines is in the control of Marine officers. I cannot tell you who they are. They closed off the entire area, and minute by minute they were pushing us back further and further from the scene. Understandably, as ambulances moved in and out of the area to take care of the wounded, it is not clear who was inside or how many people were inside the building. It is clear, however, that if they were inside the building, their chances of making it through it were not very good.
At this point, do you have any more information on the kind of explosion it was, other than the fact that it was a truck, you said, that was driven through the compound?
None at all. And it is not clear whether it was a similar effort 3 miles north of the airport, where 5 minutes after the explosion at the Marine Command Center, there was a similar explosion at the French Command Center for their multinational forces here. That building was similarly leveled. There was nothing left. You could see arms and legs of people moving, trying to make rescue workers aware that they were still alive. And their people dug with their hands and fingers, trying to pull out some of the wounded, trying to save their lives. It was an incredibly horrible scene to see. It is, of course, very early in the morning here, and the U.S. fleet pulled very, very close to the Lebanese coast. The aircraft carriers and frigates could be seen, I would say, closer than I have ever seen them before, perhaps within less than a mile of the coast, clearly in a stand that they were ready to react if necessary.
Any speculation as to who might be responsible for this?
At this point, I hesitate to speculate on things like that. U.S. relations in many parts of the Arab world are strained. We do know, in talking with Marine Major Robert Jordan, that they have suspected many forces who have been firing on the Marines are members of a Marxist front for the liberation of Palestine, who are trying to sabotage efforts to reach a peaceful accord in Lebanon that would put Christians and Muslims together for the first time in many, many years. Whether this is connected with that, we don't know. There was also speculation that Iranian forces, some of whom are in this country and have taken responsibility for other attacks, similar attacks, may have been responsible because, of course, the United States and other countries, particularly the French, who supplied the Super Étendard fighters to Iraq, have been at odds with the Ayatollah Khomeini. And nearby the Marine compound are stenciled signs on the walls with a picture of Ayatollah Khomeini that say, "We are a slave to Khomeini," meaning they will do anything that he wants them to do. But again, all of this is speculation. What we do know is that both the French and the American command centers in Beirut do not exist anymore. They were absolutely demolished.
Has there been any statement from the president of Lebanon, Amin Jamal, regarding the explosion?
Not immediately. I have not heard one. We have been at the scene both. I was at the French scene and I was at the scene of the Marine Command Post. I saw neither of the ambassadors there. I saw no high official from the Lebanese government. However, there was so much confusion, Gwen. I'm sure you can realize that it would be impossible to tell. These are big buildings. These aren't small guard posts or anything like that. We're talking about 4-story office buildings that might take up a quarter of a block. Both of them just leveled flat.
Jim, thank you very much for that report. I do have one more question for you. Can you tell our viewers that you do expect the death toll to rise of the U.S. Marines in Beirut? And
I have not received confirmation from any source, but having been on the scene, having seen what I did, I expect the toll to go much higher.
All right. Thank you very much, Jim. Well, to recap that, we do know that 43 American Marines have been killed, 10 French soldiers have been killed, and that's as far as we know now. Rescue efforts are continuing to uncover victims that are probably still under the rubble from the leveled buildings. In related news, the escalating violence marred preparations for interfactional peace talks, which were set to begin in Geneva. Beirut radio said fighting continued along most of the country's confrontation lines, escalating sharply late Saturday night. It said the shelling in and around Beirut was indiscriminate, with shells falling around Marine positions at Beirut International Airport and on Christian East Beirut. And Jim Clancy did refer to that fighting, which took place Saturday night in his report to us. 3 shells crashed on Dawra and 4 on Dakwakni in East Beirut, killing 1 woman. Others fell on El Hadath and Babda, the eastern Beirut suburb where the presidential palace is located. Stay with us. We'll have more information for you. This is a CNN special report updating the top story. We do have new casualty figures on the number of Americans killed in Beirut. There are now at least 45 Americans known dead. Reports from the scene say many troops are still missing under rubble. 2 massive remote-controlled car bombs blew up 2 buildings housing U.S. Marine and French troops near the Beirut airport. In addition to the Americans, at least 18 French troops, and that's a new figure, are reported killed. A French officer says that toll may soon climb to as many as 100. The 2 bombs went off almost simultaneously at dawn Beirut time. The area of the blast is sealed off to outsiders, and rescue teams are digging through the rubble in search for more victims. They're asking for emergency supplies. The airport is being used as a hospital at this time, and it is closed off to commercial traffic. The explosion literally leveled the 2 buildings. Slabs of concrete are folded on top of each other. President Reagan, who's in Augusta, Georgia, is reported to be aware of that tragedy. One official said he has already been in contact with the U.S. Embassy in Beirut and is monitoring the situation. The president does not have a comment as of now on the situation, nor does the State Department or the Pentagon. Repeating, the president is aware that at least 45 now, a new figure, American Marines have been killed and 18 French soldiers in 2 synchronized explosions. The buildings that house the peacekeepers were leveled by 2 bombs, probably car bombs, but we don't know that for sure. There is a chance the bombs were set off from within the building themselves, but we don't know that for sure either. Jim Clancy is now on the phone from Beirut, and he's on the scene. And Jim, what can you tell us? What can you tell us about the situation at this point?
I'm sorry, Gwen. I am having trouble hearing you. Phone lines here are not good.
Just update the situation for us, please.
At this point, Gwen, the situation continues to be one of ongoing frantic rescue work, both at the French headquarters and, of course, at the Marine Command Center near Beirut International Airport. There are literally tons of rubble that have to be lifted away before anyone can find out and make any determination of the number of dead, the number of people who were actually able to survive this attack in either one of the positions that were blasted within minutes of one another early this morning. At the same time, questions are being asked. How could this have happened? How could someone have driven a truck into that area? There are many, many checkpoints along the roads. It is very unlikely, it would seem, without the cooperation of troops in those checkpoints, that such a truck could make the journey in there. There are all kinds of possibilities that could be suggested, from bringing in the dynamite in small, or explosives rather, in small quantities, and then gathering them together into the truck and simply driving into the compound, forcing their way in, perhaps providing some kind of armored protection for the driver that would prevent the driver from being killed before he was able to complete his suicide mission. We understand from reports from Israel, our bureau there, J.B. Bushinsky, says that he has heard now that there was an estimated 600 pounds of explosives, or the equivalent of 600 pounds of dynamite, that caused this blast. Gwen?
Jim, so then you are definitely sure that it was a truck that was driven into the compound. That can be
Gwen,
confirmed.
I am having very much difficulty hearing you. You are cutting in and out as the phone lines are not good today from Beirut.